Hey everyone, it's Cam from Arsenal Theory, back with another video, and as promised, we're going to go on a bit of a Kai Havertz, I don't want to say rant, but observation and discussion is probably the most diplomatic way to put it. So when the rumours first came about, I don't know how long ago it would have been now, maybe a month ago, just under a month ago, we were going in for Kai Havertz. I just thought this was Chelsea feeding information out to the press to try and generate some kind of interest in him. I never for 1 second believed that we were genuinely looking at buying this player, let alone dropping 50 million big ones on him, with another 15 million on add-ons as well. So I was quite dumbfounded, head scratching, and I'll be honest, sort of disappointed really that we were doing it. And I was just hoping that there was some kind of underlying factors that, as a kind of armchair fan, you know, I don't work in the game, that I was missing. And a lot of data was coming out to suggest that Havertz had some really interesting stats around, you know, arriving late into the box. Apparently the only other player that made more runs into the penalty box than him last season was Haaland. I was like, okay, well, that's interesting to know. And clearly the club think there's something there in the player. But from the beginning that we were linked with him, I was really not convinced. And I wasn't convinced at the money that we were looking at throwing at it as well. For me, one of the issues is that, you know, since he's been at Chelsea, he really hasn't performed consistently. And whenever Arsenal have played Chelsea, I defy any Arsenal fan over the last 2 or 3 years that Havertz has been there to look at those games, and not one Arsenal fan came away and went, you know, we should really try and buy Kai Havertz. None of us did. You know, you could look at it and go, well, maybe Kante or Reece James, someone like that. You could maybe Kovacic, possibly. There are certain players there who you could maybe make an argument for, but Havertz, Mason Mount, another player who maybe you could make an argument for, but Kai Havertz just wasn't one of those. And I was really, really surprised that we went in for him. So he's had a couple of games for us now, and it's so early, it's too early to make a judgment. This video isn't a judgment on him as a player. It's more just about me trying to understand my feelings behind us buying him. Because when I look at the money that we've invested with him, the wages and the fee, it's a lot of money. And I just think if you were to chuck kind of 60 odd million pounds at our team, at a player to improve, you wouldn't chuck it at Kai Havertz. Now, there's part of what doesn't help is it's not really clear exactly what his role is going to be. There are fans out there that are saying he's the Xhaka replacement. He's going to be playing kind of left centre midfield. Maybe more attacking than Xhaka. There are other fans out there that are saying, no, he's essentially our second striker. Or maybe even our first striker if Jesus hits a run of bad ball. And there is some logic to that. He had played up front for Chelsea and really didn't do very well. But maybe in an Arsenal system, more of a target man. I mean, he is 6'4", he's very, very tall. And so I think that doesn't help, is that we're not as fans exactly sure what we're going to be doing with him. You know, with Declan Rice, it's pretty straightforward what we're going to be doing with him as a player. But with Kai Havertz, it's just a lot more, it just feels a bit more muddy, a bit more grey as to where he's going to fit in. The concerns I have with this signing are kind of twofold. Firstly, okay, he's not been in a great environment at Chelsea for the last few years, but I still feel that like players should be able to rise above that to a certain extent. You could say the same at Declan Rice. He's playing for West Ham, but he managed to put in incredible performances most weeks, but we didn't see that from Havertz. And so I do wonder about, has he got the mentality to rise above the situations that maybe he finds himself in? So that's a bit of a concern there. My other thing is that Mikel has really had to put his proverbials on the line with this one here. As a signing, it really needs to work. And my concern is this just a Willian but with more zeros on the end of it? You know, he hasn't got that kind of style which instantly gets you out of your seat, or he doesn't come across as particularly dynamic or exciting either. And so you're kind of going into sort of Mesut Ozil sort of type player in terms of how he looks on the pitch. He is languid. He doesn't look particularly interested. His face is quite expressionless. He's quite emotionless from what I can see so far. And so you do wonder if he has a run of games where it's not really happening for him. Are the fans going to help him through that, or are they going to become a bit of a nightmare for him? And I really hope that he hits the ground running, because I'm not sure the fans are looking to be that forgiving on this one. So we'll have to wait and see on that. A concern I have, is Mikel just going to keep playing him? And if you remember with Willian, he just persisted with him and just kept playing him to the point where it was actually detrimental to the team. And I wonder if Havertz is going to be his Willian 0.20. And I really hope not, because we've got so many options that we could look at playing. And I think Kai is really going to have to earn his place in that starting lineup, because there's just too much talent around it to justify it otherwise, really, in terms of Smith Rowe, in terms of Trossard. But like I said, hopefully it starts getting a bit clearer exactly what his position is. And I understand, you know, a lot of fans have been saying, look, Bayern Munich were looking at him, Real Madrid were looking at him. Every Chelsea manager played him. You know, Lampard played him, Tuchel played him, Graham Potter played him. And that is true, they all played him. None of them really got a kind of consecutive tune out of him, having said that. So maybe he's a very good trainer. I think for the money, that's really where my concerns are, I suppose. If we'd paid kind of like 30, 35 for him, you'd look at him and go, okay, well, that's a bit of a project player here. But at the kind of 50, 55, up to 60, 65 with add-ons, that's not a project player to me. That's a player that's coming in, needs to score 15 goals and 25 goals and assists in a season. And I just struggle to see how we're going to get that out of him. I'm being so harsh on the man, because the season hasn't even started yet. He's had a couple of friendlies and he's actually scored a goal as well. He had a nice finish in the first game. But when we were linked with him, I just couldn't quite understand it. But I think Arsenal have we look at players that are young that have a lot of experience, and he did tick those two boxes. So we've made a move for it, and like it or not, he's here now. I think for Mikel and Kai's sake, I hope Mikel is able to establish a specific role within this team for him ASAP, because that's going to help Havertz, I think, settle down. You know, let's get an established role for him, get him into that role, get him being successful in that role, and then, you know, let's maybe see what we can do with him, as opposed to kind of doing it the other way around, really, where we kind of float him across several places and then kind of see what we're going to do. Because we've got we've got a lot of players to gel and knit together, especially with Rice and Havertz, Timber coming in as well. So I'm not feeling great about the signing. I want it to work out. I want him to be successful. It's just I wasn't really on board with it, and I've not seen anything so far to really make me kind of change my mind. My gut feels not too positive on it, but let's wait and see, shall we? Let's wait and see. So, got Barcelona in the next game. Maybe he can do a madness. So, thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.